Welcome back to another episode of Smooth Brain EDH, where we get the smoothest plays with the biggest brains. This week, we got some cEDH action for you all, so let's see what our players brought to the table. First up is Tanner on Vivi or ETA. This is a deck that's focused around creating a ton of mana with Vivi, with Breach and Ice ref combo lines to close out the game. Next is Seth on Najeela, the Blade Blossom. This build is playing ad nauseum for card advantage and plays the usual suspects for win cons and Thrasios Oracle and Breach lines, as well as the Revi Infinite Combat lines. Third is Jason on Tymna the Weaver and Thrasios Triton Hero. This 4-color deck is playing a mid-range game plan, hoping to accrue card advantage until it secure a definite win through infinite mana generation or Oracle lines. Last is Ethan on Etali, Primal Conqueror. This gruel deck is all about trying to make 7 mana and cast Etali as soon as possible, hoping to chain together Etali triggers to assemble a combo win with Dualcaster Mage or steal a win con from opponents. We're about to hop right into the game. If you enjoyed the video, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to further support the channel, please consider becoming a YouTube member. We have links to our social media pages, our free public Discord server, and the Decklists in the description. We're partnered with Dragon Shield. Check out our affiliate link in the description if you're looking to pick up any sleeves, deck boxes, or playmats, and use code SMOOTH5 at checkout for 5% off your order. Now, on to the gameplay.
Tanner wins the die roll. He'll start off with his Gemstone Caverns, and he'll cast Sensei's Divining Top, then pass. Seth starts off with Scalding Tarn, and he fetches for Volcanic Island. He'll then free cast his Mox Diamond and pitch Bayou, then he'll cast Mystic Remora and pass to Jason, who will just play a Command Tower and pass to Ethan. Ethan will Verdant Catacombs and fetch for Taiga, then he'll drop his Delighted Halfling and pass back to Tanner. Tan Man will play Polluted Delta and fetch for his Volcanic Island, then he'll cast DRC and pass to Seth. Seth pays for the fish tax, then he'll play a Misty Rainforest and pass to Jason. On instep, Jason will Worldly Tutor. 4 not paid. This finds Voice of Victory to the top of his library, and then he'll move to his turn, where he'll play a Marsh Flats and fetch for an Underground Sea, then he'll cast the Voice and pass to Ethan. Ethan starts off with a Carplution Forest, then he'll cast Arcane Signet, he can't pay the 4, then a Llanowar Elves, and then he'll pass to Tanner, and Tanner will spin top on instep. Then we'll move to his turn, where he'll play a Mountain and then cast Vivi. It resolves, then the turn is passed to Seth, who fetches for an Underground Sea on instep. Then on his turn, he pays for fish again. He'll then play an Arid Mesa, and then the turn is passed to Jason, who immediately goes to combat. Voice of Victory is swung over at Seth, so are its Mobilized tokens, so Seth takes 3. Thinking about Nas, Jason. Smart. Then, post-combat, he'll play a Polluted Delta and fetch for a Tropical Island, and then he'll cast a Ristic Study and pass to Ethan. Also 4 not paid. Your boy Ethan starts off with an Emergence Zone, and then he'll just pass the turn. Tanner will start his turn off with, an Emergence Zone. Then he'll pass the turn to Seth, and not feeding the fish has paid off. The fish dies. Seth will then fetch for a Badlands, then we'll see Najeela hit the field. He doesn't pay the 1, then he'll cast an Esper Sentinel, also not paying the 1, and then the turn is passed to Jason. He'll play an Arid Mesa, which he'll use to fetch for a Scrubland, which he'll then use to cast Dark Ritual. He does pay the 1. After this, he'll cast a Lotus Petal, and then the One Ring. On ETB, he gains Pro Everything till his next turn. He'll then draw a card with it, then move to combat, and Ethan is now the target of 3 damage. He'll block a 1 power with a 1-2 and then take 2. Post-combat, with the assistance of Elvish Spirit Guide, Jason will cast Thrasios. Then the turn is passed to Ethan, and he'll start his turn off by just casually jamming a Treasonous Ogre. And he does pay the 1. Now with just it on the stack, Tanner has first priority, and he'll spin his top. And nobody's got anything else, so the Ogre will resolve. Ethan will pay 18 life into it, going down to 19 to float 6 red mana. Then he'll add an extra mana with his Delighted Halfling to cast an uncounterable Etali. 1 not paid. And then after that, Tanner decides to respin his top to ensure Ethan gets something poopy. And then Etali resolves. ETB trigger hits Elvish Mystic, Felwar Stone, Chrome Mox, and Survival of the Fittest. Interesting hits. We know Ethan has the Molten Duplication in hand, and with those 2 mana rocks and the Survival of the Fittest, Ethan could potentially go for the Dualcaster Mage line here. But casting all of these would draw Jason a lot of cards. Also, he has Pro Everything, so he couldn't even win this turn. So ultimately, Ethan decides to just not cast any of them. He'll then follow it up by paying 6 life to float 2 red, and he'll cast Molten Duplication targeting Etali, and he doesn't pay either 1. Then Molten Duplication will resolve. Ethan keeps real Etali, and another ETB trigger goes on the stack. This time Ethan will hit Seething Song, Stormkiln Artist, Lotus Petal, and Noble Hierarch. Not great hits once again, unfortunate. Ethan decides to cast the 2 creatures this time, he doesn't pay either 1, and then the turn is passed to Tanner. And of course, Taniel will spin the top on instep. We'll then move to his turn, where he spins it again, then activates the top to swap the top. Then he'll pay 2 life to Gitaxian Probe Jason. Triggers you on the stack. And then he remembers he can't target Jason, so he changes his target to Ethan. Then neither ones are paid. He'll surveil one to the top. Then there's a Vivi trigger, and then Ethan will DM Tanner a picture of his hand, and Tanner draws a card. After this, he'll play a tapped Soporific Springs, then he'll recast his top. Triggers: 1 not paid, Pyroblast goes to the graveyard, and then Vivi triggers. And with Jason having pro everything, there's no point in Tanner continuing. He'll pass the turn to Seth. And on Seth's upkeep, Jason will crack his pedal for a white to silence Seth. Seth will attempt to mental misstep back by paying 2 life. 1 not paid. Oh yeah, not for the Esper Sentinel either. And so it's countered. Then Seth will cast the One Ring, 1 not paid. He gains pro everything, and then he'll draw a card with it. He'll then pass the turn and discard Noble Hierarch and Arcane Signet on cleanup. Let's move to Jason's turn now. He's probably got it from here if I had to guess. Ooh, maybe not. He'll start by drawing 2. He'll then shock in a Breeding Pool. Yep, and he'll cast a Thassa's Oracle. Nobody can cast spells, and nobody's got any abilities to activate, so on ETB, he'll respond to the trigger with a Demonic Consultation. And that resolves, so deck gone. Trigger resolves, Jason wins. Congrats! Whew, what an interesting game. Lucky for you guys, we've got a second game. Also, you've probably noticed the change in my voice. I woke up this morning with some congestion, just some allergies, don't worry, I'll be fine. You'll just have to get used to me sounding a little different for the second half of this video. But yes, back to that. That first game was pretty short, so everybody decided to rearrange their position and then play a second game. Opening hands for this second game have been flashing by. Hope you guys got a good look at those. Let's hop into it. Looks like Jason wins the die roll, but Seth's got that Gemstone Caverns pregame, and he exiles Diabolic Intent. Now Jason begins. He'll start off with his Wooded Foothills, and he'll fetch for a Tropical Island. He'll then cast his Chrome Mox and exile Dark Ritual, and with this he's able to cast his Demonic Tutor. He'll find a card and pass to Tanner. Tanner starts off with his Volcanic Island, which he uses to cast Soul Ring, which he uses to cast Arcane Signet. Then he'll cast a Mox Diamond, pitching Thundering Falls. Then he'll tap both of those and exile a Mana Monkey to cast a turn 1 Vivi. Then the turn is passed to Seth, who starts off with Boseiju. Then he'll tap for 2 and cast Felwar Stone. And then, cheater alert. Seth will cast Esper Sentinel off said Felwar Stone that cannot currently produce a white mana. But being 100% real, this was just an honest mistake. He does realize it later in the game, but at that point it's a little too late, and the rest of the table is very forgiving and understanding. Anyways, the turn is passed to Ethan. He'll go Mountain into Soul Ring, into Arcane Signet, into Delighted Halfling, and no, he did not pay 1 for the Soul Ring. And then the turn is passed to Jason. He'll play Scrubland, and then cast Rhystic Study and pass. He also doesn't pay the 1. On Tanner's turn, he'll jam his own Rhystic Study, and he doesn't pay either 1, and there's a Vivi trigger. He'll then cast a Vexing Bauble, not paying 1, another trigger, and then the turn is passed to Seth. He'll start by playing a Badlands, and then he'll cast Najeela, and he only pays for Jason's Rhystic Study. Then we'll move to Ethan's turn. He'll start off with a Reckless Barbarian, and he'll have 1 mana floating, which he uses to pay for Jason's Rhystic Study, and then he'll pass the turn to Jason. And he'll start off with a Command Tower. Then he'll cast Voice of Victory, and he pays the 1. He'll then follow it up with a Mystic Remora, and he does not pay either 1, and then the turn is passed to Tanner. He'll start off with a Scalding Tarn, and he'll follow it up with a Brainstorm. Triggers. He'll only pay for Jason's Rhystic Study, and then Vivi's trigger will resolve. And so does the Brainstorm. The turn is then passed to Seth. He'll start off with a Windswept Teeth, then he'll cast Wishclaw Talisman, and he does pay for both Rhystic Studies. Then the turn is passed to Ethan. He'll start off by playing his Boseiju as land for turn. Then he'll cast an Allosaurus Shepherd. Okay, if he's lucky, he might actually get through that Vexing Bauble. But before that, he pays for both Rhystic Studies. And then passes. Tanner cracks Scalding Tarn for a Mountain on Instep, then we move to Jason's turn. His opponents can't cast spells, let's see what happens. In upkeep, he pays for Fish. That might be a good sign. He'll then play Boseiju as lane for turn, then cast Survival of the Fittest. Okay, and he does not pay either 1. And then he'll just pass the turn, where Tanner starts off with Urabrask. He does pay the 1, and then he'll cast a Basalt Monolith. Nothing is paid for, and Vivi will trigger. Okay, scratch that. He does pay for Rhystic Study. Tanner will then pass the turn, but Seth will stay on end step to fetch with Windswept Heath for a Tropical Island, and then he will cast Worldly Tutor. He does not pay any taxes. All of this will resolve, so Grand Abolisher goes to the top of his library. Then we'll move to his turn where he casts said Grand Abolisher. Rhystic triggers go on the stack, and Seth will pay for both of them. Then, with the Abolisher still on the stack, Jason will Baby Rift Najeela, not paying either one. That resolves, and then so does the Grand Abolisher, so Seth will follow this up with a Volcanic Island and a Final Fortune. No taxes paid. Nobody can respond, so it resolves, and Seth will then pass to his extra turn. He'll then play a City of Brass, and then he activates his Wishclaw Talisman, tutoring a card to his hand, and passing it along to Ethan. And we saw the Thoracle in his hand, so we know he's going to cast it. Then when it resolves, the trigger will go on the stack, he'll hold priority, and then cast Demonic Consultation. No taxes are paid for either of these spells, but Grand Abolisher kind of stops all interaction. And yeah, you guys already know how this combo works, so Seth wins game 2. Congratulations! Well, everybody, welcome to the game of 2 Thoracle wins. I guess that is the nature of cEDH, though. As long as it's legal, it's gonna get played. But hey, at least the same deck didn't do it twice. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed. Be sure to click all of our wacky links down in the description. I love you all. Have a smooth day. Hello, Alkis.